What's up? What's up, my zeros? Remember, because there's 0 people watching this. There are probably like 50 videos in. No, I think I had. Well, anyways, today I'm not going to do a cop reaction. I saw this video, and you know this background. And this has got to be Joe Rogan's lowest, dumbest point ever. I mean, I watched this shit, and I could not believe that this motherfucker was agreeing with this shit. So let's go ahead and just crack into it. Now, this is one of those conspiracy guys, but this conspiracy about giants, I'm just not, I don't even buy the giant conspiracy. So let's get into it. Let's see what they have to say about giants.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I've heard a lot of things about giants in Afghanistan. And I find that, I talk about a lot of different topics. I talk about a lot of UFO stuff. And I say some things that I know could get me in trouble. But nothing makes me more nervous than talking about giants, specifically the Kandahar giant and the giants in Kandahar in general.
In general, I think how this guy's dressed too is like, why are these guys always dressed like they're on a safari? Like, motherfucker, you didn't just come out of the rainforest. Every time they have one of these guys, that green shirt. So he's playing the role, but definitely a plug.
Why? Very, very nervous when we get to this topic. And some of them will just flat out will not talk about giants in general, but specifically.
Notice, this is where the lie first starts. He says people. He doesn't say what type of people. Hear it again.
They're very, very nervous when we get to this. Mainly because when I talk.
That make you very nervous? I talk to people that know things. It's just the bullshit trail keeps going.
Very, very nervous when we get to this topic. And some of them will just flat out will not talk about giants in general, but specifically giants in Afghanistan.
They won't talk about them because they don't exist. It's not some big thing. There's no way this guy has people. This guy is saying multiple people that are talking about the giants, and we ain't seen one motherfucking photograph. I don't even understand who the fuck is buying this shit. And how the fuck did this guy get on? I mean, I know this podcast has no credibility anymore. All right, let's hear about giants.
And some of these guys are high-level guys that worked at the Pentagon. And
sorry to stop us so much. High-level guys. I know people. Let me tell you something. Joe, I know some people. Some high-level guys at the Pentagon. Giants. They told me giants.
They'll talk rather freely with me about UFOs. But as soon as we broach this topic, it's like they literally will warn me, be careful with this topic.
What?
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think that
What do you make of that? Here comes the next plug. Well, man, ain't no one want to talk to you about it because they don't fucking exist. They don't exist. When you talk to your friends at the Pentagon, they don't want to talk about it because they don't exist. Because they got more important things to do than talk with your dumbass about some fake ass giants.
the topic of giants is intermeshed with the occult. That's my personal theory, because nothing else makes sense. Who cares if there's 8-foot-tall guys, right? Big deal.
Right. Well, there's 8-foot-tall humans, right? We were just talking about that young kid that's a basketball player that's 7'9", right? There's a few of them now I've seen. Yeah. So there's actual giants that are in public.
Right.
That like play for the NBA. And
Right.
They're out there. You could meet them.
Mm-hmm. But when I say giants, I'm talking about 9 to 12 feet tall. That's 8 to 12 feet tall. I would classify.
And these are where the stories get weird. So technically, this is a fucking very, 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 very big human. This ain't no giant. When we talk about giant, we're thinking about like the foot. I mean, it's two of me. I mean, it's a big motherfucker. But they ain't no motherfucking giant. See? Trying to put some realism in there so you can be like, okay, I can conceive. Trust me, the story gets better. I've seen this. But you're like, oh, I can conceive maybe a 12-foot giant. So he's throwing a little bit of realism in there to get you to bite. Just remember this fucking, and this shirt has never been worn outside. This is a brand new bought shirt, by the way. That should be the fucking key.
An 8 foot tall person is a giant as well, as long as they don't have gigantism.
Right.
That's a completely different thing.
Right.
Gigantism is a disability.
This Kandahar giant story is very crazy because what's interesting about it is the people that I've talked to that have been in Afghanistan.
Ain't no bitch. Ain't no woman in the world. Maybe look at a tall motherfucker and was like, you got a disability.
That were deployed in Afghanistan, not just Devin, but other people. They don't dismiss it. They say, we've heard some weird shit about that place. And the thing that they always say is, you got to realize, like, Afghanistan is an old country. It's old and it's very remote. Like, most of it is very mountainous. It's controlled by warlords. And
did he just say it's a very old country? Okay, first of all, isn't every place pretty much the same motherfucking age? Because the world kind of aged all the same. And second of all, Afghanistan is not among, yes, some of the earliest people, yes, but Africa has some too. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Old. It's old. This is ridiculous. This doesn't mean anything. The whole world ages at the same fucking time.
you know, look, there's these. What are those? Are they Greek or Roman? Those structures that are there that date the Greek. They look like Greek temples that date back to Alexander the Great, and archaeologists can't study them. They can't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, he says, old, this very old place. And then he says, archaeologists can't go there. So he's contradicting himself, so they don't know anything. And the statues he's talking about, I think, are the Buddhist statues that Bin Laden blew up in like 2013. They were old statues. But I don't know about no Roman.
Because it's too dangerous.
It's one of the most remote places on the planet, specifically because it's so dangerous. You can't just go strolling around Afghanistan. I mean, it probably would be easier to go to Antarctica than Afghanistan.
It's a lie too, because I've seen plenty of people in Afghanistan.
And
It's
so,
kind of hilarious.
so the story of the Kandahar giant.
Yeah, let's tell the story.
This story has grown into a mythology over the years. Years ago, I was working with a gentleman named Steve Quayle, and we started a production company called Gen 6 Productions. And we were making documentary films mainly about giants, mainly on the topic of giants.
This is how my employees clock in today.
This little thing has helped my business save tens of thousands of dollars. Remember how we used to clock in?
Yeah, this is...
Giants as like referred to in the Bible, in ancient history, the Smithsonian giants.
That's right, biblical and historical accounts of giants. So I was traveling around the world investigating giants, and Steve is known for his investigations into giants. And he got a phone call from an elderly woman who told him, "You need to talk to my son. My son has a story he needs to tell you." And she had to convince her son to talk to Steve, and ultimately he did. And he was active duty. He was a C-130 pilot, active duty. He actually went on coast to coast with Steve. They went on coast to coast together, and he related his...
This story is such fucking bullshit. Just get ready.
Story, I believe, with George Norrie, him, Steve, and George. And then later on, we flew him into Bozeman, Montana to put him in our documentary film that we were making.
This motherfucker wanted to be on TV. Just notice that. Like, he wanted to be on fucking TV. He went on Coast to Coast. He's already just listen. This is some bullshit.
And he did not. He wanted to be filmed in silhouette. He did not want his face out there, even though he knew that they're going to be able to mark him just by his voice. So he flies.
Like, see, he doesn't want to be on TV. No, he still wants to be on TV. He kept his fucking voice. he kept coming my face, keep my voice. I'm told. Look how exact the story is.
In the Bozeman, we meet with him. He shows us his credentials. He was active duty C-130. And then he told us the following story, among many other things that he told us. He said back in 2005, he was...
Notice he keeps saying active duty C-130. He keeps trying to sell this shit to you like it's real. I mean, never heard. My dad was a crew chief on C-130s. I never heard him ever say anything like that. I have friends that worked in C-130s and they didn't say anything like that.
Deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq, running missions as a C-130 cargo pilot. And oftentimes they would have him fly into Bagram Airfield. And these were routine missions. And so on one of these missions, he's flying into Bagram. But this time when he landed, he was met, as soon as he deplaned, he was met on the tarmac by some individuals that...
And I actually talked to one of my friends who worked on C-130s, who used to, I think, load them and did flights in the Bagram and explained the whole, well, Afghanistan knows the exact same place, and explained the whole thing to me about to wear bulletproof vests when they land and pretty much a bunch of other shit. And he explained that a lot of this shit he says is, all this shit he says is bullshit. So keep watching. It's bullshit.
He describes as the babysitters. He calls them the babysitters. He thinks they were either Army intelligence or Air Force intelligence guys. They didn't tell him. But this was different because when he disembarked, they told him, no photos, no mention of this ever. This never happened. So he knew that.
So this is the key fucking lie here. And I'm not in the military. But, as you know, I've lived overseas all my life. In the Middle East, I've been around military people, and a lot of people will tell you this, that if there's some top secret shit going on, they're not just going to have some half or someone with a security clearance that's a little lower just lingering in the background. From my understanding, if you have a very, very high security clearance, you're doing something like this, you're not just going to have some guy with no security clearance or some little security clearance just be like, standing in the background.
Whatever was about to happen was top secret. And he had flown classified missions before, usually retrieving Taliban guys, what he described as high-valued assets. But this was different because there were intelligence guys on the tarmac waiting for something. And it turns out what they were waiting for was the cargo that was being delivered on a forklift to the C-130. And the pilot says that the first thing that struck him as this cargo is moving toward him and his crew was the odor. He said it smelled like musk, BO, and death. And it was extremely pungent. And when the cargo arrived, it was on an air cargo pallet, which is 7x9. And he could see that there was a person on the pallet in the fetal position. And this individual was so large that his hands and his feet and part of his head were hanging off the pallet. And
okay, this is where it gets even stupider. It's like, if they're gonna wrap something, they're gonna wrap it. And this was verified from a friend who worked on C-130s and loaded them, or I think the Globemasters. They're gonna wrap that shit, and they're gonna wrap it again. You're not gonna see it. There's not gonna be a foot hanging off if it's top secret. And again, they're not gonna have some Jagmo that doesn't have the same security clearance just sitting around looking at shit, because this shit would happen.
he and his loadmaster, and there were some Marines who accompanied the pellet, who accompanied this cargo. They were actually putting their feet up to this guy's feet, this dead giant's feet, and seeing how small their feet were compared to his. Now, the giant had red hair. He had 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot. His feet were wrapped in like a crude canvas foot wrapping. And he was solid as a rock. Again, most of his body was covered by a tarp, but the pilot and the guys around him were hitting him with their fists. And he came up to about their midsection.
So, not only do they have some Jagmos that don't have the same security clearance as the other people, we got the pilot punching the cargo, and these other people punching the cargo. What the fuck's going on here, dude? The story is so stupid. Like, this is a fucking movie, dude. This is like Marvel.
Laying in the fetal position, and the pilot told me he was solid. This guy, and he asked the Marines, "What happened? Where did this guy come from?" And they told him that they had heard that there was a team that was out in Afghanistan that was looking for Taliban or something. And they came upon a cave because there was a nearby village, and the villagers were bringing food and other artifacts to the mouth of this cave. And so they thought that they're aiding and abetting the Taliban. So they went into the cave, and rather than encountering the Taliban, what they found was this enormous humanoid who killed them all.
This guy's a fool. Killed them all. Killed them all. Okay. These guys, like, what is fucking the Goonies? This is like, yeah, you can't tell me. Yeah, I'm not even going to go into that, how I think that is stupid. But he killed them all. This is one swoop of his hands. Mind you, let me tell you something. He doesn't have a gun. This guy's claiming this thing's 12 foot. You're telling me that a man that's only 12 foot isn't going to get shot and hurt when he have a bulletproof vest? What was he throwing, rocks? I mean, these guys would have unloaded on him and killed him. How the fuck would he can't step on him. He's not going to, like, okay, I'm not.
And then, according to these soldiers, they deployed another team to go look for that team. And when they found the cave, they found the traces of that other team. They were ready. They were prepared. And they were able to kill the giant.
What did they do? When they brought a gun this time? I mean, what did they do different? They were ready. They brought a fucking tank. He didn't even tell you how they were ready. He just kind of skipped past that whole part of the story, how the one team died and the other team was so much more powerful. Like, how are they ready? Anyways, I mean, maybe the guy, the guy who saw that wants to be in the video. Maybe we can watch that one day.
In fact, the soldiers told the pilot that the giant was eating on members of the team who had killed previously. But these new guys, they took him down.
How much? He's only 12 feet. How many of these people did he eat? He's not like he's 20 feet tall. This guy's story doesn't make any sense. Was he like, no, or was he fully eating these motherfuckers? He's making it sound like he was eating a bunch of them.
And then they had a transport helicopter come in and airlift him to Bagram.
Did you ever try to find records of who was there and what casualties that were
It's fucking, dude, this is so stupid.
reported, deaths that were reported?
It's very difficult. The Pentagon.
This motherfucker asking like real questions. Did you ever get Did you ever get any reports of deaths? The deaths from these guys that got killed in the cave? Motherfucker, this is a lie. This is not true. This is not true. There ain't no doubts.
actually released a statement some years ago, which is bizarre to me. You know, basically saying, in paraphrasing, the Kandahar giant incident never happened. There was never a giant that was killed in Afghanistan.
The
and so
Pentagon.
forth. Yeah, it was a representative. It was like a spokesman from the Pentagon or something, or a release from.
Notice he doesn't. He can't recall this story. This would be one of the most fucking important stories to be able to recall, there, buddy. Yeah, it's like he says something. I don't even fucking know. This would be one of the most important stories to know. What the fuck did they say? When did they say it? Who was the representative? If they made a statement, this would be important. This would be a big. Yeah, this guy's just all the important details. How the team managed to survive. How the fucking mine. Oh man. Oh, how the Pentagon just randomly released some statement, but he doesn't remember who it was. That would be very important. When they did
The
it.
Pentagon.
Is this available online?
Yeah, they actually felt the need to debunk this.
That's hilarious.
Now,
We're
that
going
gets
to look for that
sketchy.
motherfucker.
well, I believe the pilot because.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. I'll read it right now. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. No one said anything. The only thing they did is they came out and said, no one saw anything. No one said anything. That's all they said was no one said anything.
Because he was a very credible guy. He didn't want his name out there. He didn't want fame or notoriety. He was very nervous. He thought there's a good chance that they're going to recognize me by my voice. He was on Coast to Coast AM, and then he's on in our documentary. There's a good chance I'm going to get recognized, and there's going to be some reprisal. He was nervous. Now, they weighed the giant before they loaded him on the C-130, because they have to load everything that goes onto the C-130. The loadmaster weighed him. He weighed 1,100 pounds. And they estimated his height at 10 to 12 feet tall. And so they loaded him onto the C-130, and then they...
I'll be a Gemini, bitch. If a human was 12 feet tall, what would the average weight be? We're going to see. Let's let it roll.
flew him to Qatar. And then they unloaded the cargo in Qatar. And our pilot told me he heard through the grapevine that the body ended up at Wright-Patterson.
He was right.
Air Force
1,800
Base. He
pounds.
said, I don't know. That's just what I heard. So this is a first-hand.
Wait, what did he say?
The body ended up at Wright-Patterson. Pounds. In the documentary, there's a good chance I'm going to get recognized and there's going to be some reprisal. He was nervous. Now, they weighed the giant before they loaded him on the C-130, because they have to load everything that goes onto the C-130. The loadmaster weighed him. He weighed 1,100 pounds. And they estimated his height.
So if he was a big human, this is a lie. If he was a large human, he would weigh between 14 to 1,800 pounds. So there's no way he was 12 feet tall.
At 10 to 12 feet tall.
10 to 12 feet,
so they
okay.
loaded him onto the
300
C-130,
pounds less? No.
And then they flew him to Qatar. And then they unloaded the cargo in Qatar. And our pilot told me he heard through the grapevine that the body ended up at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He said, I don't know. That's just what I heard. So this is a first-hand account from the C-130 pilot who flew the body himself from Bagram Airfield to Qatar.
Yeah. which is not a credible source. I'm sorry. This is a fucking Marvel movie, dude. You and your fake ass brand new fucking snake humping fighting shirt, annoying ass motherfucker, needs to shut up.
Why does all the weird shit go to Wright Patterson?
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open an account. When
That's a good question. You
Because
know,
that's where the weird shit goes.
Wright Patterson used to have the Blue Room. I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a room there called the Blue Room where they had all of the alien artifacts that had been recovered and that they were studying. And it was completely off limits to anybody except for people who had access.
I think I'm
The
this
very
little
few who had
bullshit.
access.
That's about
And,
it.
But the Kandahar Giant, you know, that story,
Let's see.
a colleague of mine, L.A. Marsuli, he had another guy come to him, a different guy. We interviewed the pilot, Steve and I. L.A. had another guy come to him that was, I can't remember the details. He was a special forces guy. He had firsthand knowledge of the event as well. And we're not sure if it's the same one or a different one. If there was just one incident with the Giants or if there were multiple incidents. Now, years later, this would be just a couple of years ago because we published that film, I think, back in 2016. But just a couple of years ago, and you have to be very careful here. I ran into a gentleman who was very high up, let's say, in the operations happening out there.
This motherfucker, very high up. He knows him and his very high up. We can't even give a rank. What is the fucking president?
During the Iraq War and in Afghanistan. And this individual...
This sounds like every barroom guy that never was in the military wanted to tell war stories of his friends. Yeah, I know a guy. He was real high up. Real high up. Saw some fucking giants over there. 12 feet, 1,100 pounds. Little skinny motherfuckers.
He'd flown a lot of missions, and he was a commander.
Pilot. Oh.
And I asked him,
Commander.
we were having a casual conversation, and he starts to walk away, and I said, hey, you were in...
He flew a lot of missions. He was a commander. And he was a captain. No, he was a first, second gold member pilot.
flying missions in Afghanistan. I said, have you ever heard about the Kandahar Giant? And his wife was standing next to me, and he's sort of walking away. He turns around. The blood rushes out of his face, and he literally goes like this to me. Points to his phone. And his wife whispers, he can't talk about that. So later on, I was able to...
Dude, does he think someone's gonna believe this shit? He's like, I asked him, you seen anything with that Kandahar Giant? He said, he gave me the sig. He let me know that comms was established and they were listening. They wanted to know if he was going to talk about the Kandahar Giant. Because the moment he says the word fucking can, they're going to call him. He can't even say the word can anymore. Because once he says the word can, they think he's going to say Kandahar Giant. And they're going to rush in. This is fucking stupid.
We agreed to meet
I'm stupid.
later on and in a very controlled environment. And he related his...
A Starbucks. We met in a very controlled environment. Starbucks. Your frappuccino's ready. Shh. It's supposed to be a controlled environment, motherfucker. Lock in.
story to me. That's the most wild story I've ever heard in my life, and I'm sorry I can't relay it. I love this guy. I want to protect him, but it's not the giant of Kandahar. It's the giants of Kandahar. There's more than one. The military has known about it. And aside from him, I talked to other soldiers who've also had.
It's just like the Taliban's walking around with these giants. They come, da, 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 da. Other. This is a good one. Very big. Very big. You're like riding around. You take American or the American.
Knowledge of the specific incident that I cited
Scratch
earlier,
my
and
leg.
also in general the giants in Afghanistan. And I have a friend of mine who I met some years ago. Actually, I was with Lou Elizondo.
This motherfucker got a lot of friends. Let me guess. Who guess? He's high powered.
At Lou's bar in Wyoming, and there was a friend of Lou's who's now a friend of mine there, and we were talking about the Kandahar giant. I was just telling him the story I told you, and he just couldn't believe it. He thought, this is nuts. This is crazy. And I said, okay, do something for me. Next time you're talking to somebody in government or in the military who you think maybe might know something about this, bring it up. See what happens. So he called me one day and he said, Tim, you're not going to believe it. He said, I was talking to, I have to be very careful here too. He said, I was talking to a certain individual who works for a senator. He's a staffer. I believe he's a chief of staff for the senator, or at the very least an advisor. And he's got a military background, special forces.
Oh.
And he said, I was sitting there, we're really good friends. He said, we're having a casual conversation, as we always do. And just in the midst of this conversation, I said, hey, what do you know about the Kandahar giant? And he said, his face completely contorted. And they were no longer just being happy and laughing. He became very stern. And he said, what have you gotten yourself into? What are you looking into? He said, you need to be really careful. And he wouldn't tell him anything else. That's the kind of reaction that I get. And
Bullshit. Bullshit. Your friends are full of bullshit. Every one of these stories is a bullshit story. You're fucking bullshit. Fucking shirt's bullshit. You Kandahar diet. Don't say the word fucking. I got PTSD. Don't say the word can around me. They're listening.
others get whenever we try and get information on this story.
This story is a hunk of shit. He's a hunk of shit.